Okay, what a fine introduction. I saw that today, and it was nothing I made, something a friend posted. It's a bunch of machines playing that Billie Eilish tune that is ubiquitous these days. Bad guy. So again, disclaimer, didn't come up with that. Anyway, welcome everybody to show number 15. Holy smokes. It is April 17th, 2020. Still under quarantine. I think we're going to have an interesting show tonight. I think we're going to call this particular show Freaky Friday. And you'll see why in a moment. I'm going to bring everybody else in and then I'm going to do some introductions. So I've got my usual co-host, Jake Digman, Diggs, as we call him, in the bunker and
I live here now.
Company. And then I've also got Sarah Eileen on tonight. So you guys already know Diggs from other broadcasts we've done. So Sarah, I think we met probably, I don't know, about 15 years ago, maybe something around that time.
That is probably...
Are you trying to say you're younger than that or what? I mean, it was about, 12, 15 years ago. I think I met you before I met Kara, but I'm not positive about that. And we've been married for 10. We've known each other for 12. So maybe it was like 13 years ago or something.
I know Aubrey is the one that introduced us.
Yeah. So that was quite some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarah, she's fun to hang out with, especially when we're all drinking, which we are tonight. She's smart. Yeah. She's outspoken. She's also highly educated. So we're gonna get some payback for her suffering as far as that education goes tonight. And before we get into the meat of the show here, and we have everybody get into this, I will say that Sarah and I have been longtime political sparring partners, and I've really enjoyed it because, well, let me put it this way. She's usually been sort of the, the tolerable progressive person, which I've had no problem with because she's smart and she makes good points and it's great. I've usually been sort of the asshole free market guy. I mean, that's generally the way things have gone. I don't know how tonight's show is going to go, but like I said, Freaky Friday, we might flip some scripts. So at any rate, she has the list tonight. I've had my COVID list. I read that on a show the other day, so I'm not going to, bog you guys down with that. Sarah, well, what's on your mind? Let's get into this. Jake, do you have anything to add before we get started? Because
I'm just here for the show.
It's been a while since we've all hung out.
Too long. Yeah, too long.
Absolutely.
I guess, what you did not mention, I work for the Winking Lizard.
Yeah, give us some background.
So I work for the Winking Lizard as a manager there. And since the 29th, the Winking Lizard has been closed, and they're not planning on reopening until we're allowed to have full service dining. So
that was the 29th.
I'm currently unemployed. March.
Okay. And you guys are doing carry-out?
We did do takeout. Yeah, we did takeout for 2 weeks. But it just wasn't going to carry the company. So I've been unemployed since then. Haven't gotten any money from that. Thankfully I'm in a position where I am fine with what I have. But I know that there are a lot of people who are not. And I know that there are a lot of small businesses that are not okay, that have already closed. I was looking at some of the numbers. It was a self-reported poll, basically, about small businesses. And 24% of small businesses reported that they were 2 months or less away from closing permanently, and that 11% were a month or less away from closing permanently. While we think, small businesses, that's just like your local baker or whatever it is, the reality is that 58.9 million Americans work for small businesses.
Well, and let's define small business, because I think what small business is defined as as far as statistics go, is any company under 500 employees, I believe.
Under 5, I think. Yeah, I believe that's correct. Under 500 employees.
So that's a shitload of businesses.
That's a shitload. Well, it's a shitload of businesses, and also with it being 58.9 million people that are employed by small businesses, that is 47.5% of the American workforce. So if people are reporting properly, if what their predictions for their own business are accurate, which I would assume that you know what your business can sustain, then if 24% of small businesses close, then we're talking about 14 million people being laid off.
Well, and currently
we're at
recent figure 20
million.
I thought I just heard 22 million 24. Or something. 24. Okay. So to pick apart what you just said a little bit, I mean, so one of the caveats or one of the bones that they threw to small businesses, bars, restaurants, service industry sort of businesses like that was that, yeah, you can still do takeout and whatnot. But, you know, we actually talked to Billy Reynolds, who's the owner of Annabelle's, a couple of weeks ago, Jake. And look, I mean, I think we talked about it with him. And my inkling, and I think he agreed, was like, look, that's not going to sustain a business. That's not going to keep the lights on. I mean, so you manage the location. Like, what sort of percentage drop were you looking at versus, you know, normal business, 100%? You know, what were you doing when you were just doing that sort of takeout?
Honestly, like a 75% drop.
Yeah, and I mean, what was staffing like when you did that? Were you guys trying to keep full staff?
No, no, it was managers only for those 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just skeleton crew.
And you guys were doing everything, cooking, everything. I mean, and in that industry too, it's a question I have because I've never been there. Is that usually an hourly position in management in restaurants, or is that usually a salaried position?
A lot of places are hourly, but we are salary.
Okay.
I think it depends on the company and the size of the company, yeah. Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I feel like if it was like IHOP or something, I imagine that would be like a salaried position.
Like I know that like when Bivens was the manager on its bag house, that he was paid hourly, but the other managers were paid salary. So it also depends on who you are too.
Well, and I know the old thing is that, you know, you can pay managers salary so that, you know, you're not having to pay all that overtime because they're working 50, 60 hours a week, right? And I'm not saying, and I'm not taking a position on that's bad per se, because that is, you know, you could argue that that's some sort of stepping stone into something else. You're getting experience. You've signed up for it. You agreed to it, et cetera, et cetera. But interesting. So, and then, geez, just staggering amounts of people are unemployed right now. And like you said, the unemployment system's not working.
Nope.
Also, I read headlines today. The states are out of this money. Like this small business loan money, it's gone.
Yeah, the small business loans have already been dispersed. And I was reading today that a lot of that went to ended up going to like not corporations, but larger restaurants versus like the mom and pop places that are more at risk.
Well, and they've got the staff for it, I guess, to apply and get on that immediately. I mean, I heard that, you know, a lot of locations, even for large chains, like when it comes to hotels and things like that, they were considering them small businesses because they applied on a location by location basis. And I guess,
which makes, I mean, it makes sense if you're franchised or anything like that.
It makes sense to do that, but that's some shady shit.
Well, I mean, if you're franchised, I agree. I mean, it's a small business. It's just part of something larger. But that wasn't even the case. I mean, there were some corporately owned ones that were doing it that way. Look, when you're giving away basically free money because there was a sort of a guarantee of forgiveness behind this, you're going to have, I mean, it's in the business's financial interest to do whatever they can to get that money, right? So, and unfortunately, the bigger guys are going to get it because they've got the expertise and the staff to sort of do those sorts of things.
So and a lot of places closed preemptively as well, kind of just to avoid, spending more money on staffing and potentially losing even more money. So a lot of places closed from the beginning.
Well, and that could be a double-edged sword too, right? Because you're going to have reduced business when people are getting nervous, but you're giving up revenue. I don't know. It's a crazy situation. So when did you apply for unemployment?
I got myself in the system right after they ordered dine-in to shut down. But I just started applying for weekly claims 3 weeks ago.
My first week I was applying
and
I think 3 weeks ago.
I haven't. I currently am dealing with a break in claims because I was denied the first week, and then every week that I filed after that says break in claims. But
what does that mean?
Can't talk to anybody about it. It means that because there was a break in the claim because I wasn't eligible for the first week that I filed. So the first week that I filed, I was not eligible, and now every week after that says break in claims, but I can't actually talk to anybody.
Well, that was my other question. How do you guys interact with unemployment?
You don't.
So is this something online? You fill it out, you hit submit, and
it's all online. If you call, it will just disconnect you because it will tell you that there's too many callers.
I put a post out on Facebook earlier in the week, and Sarah responded back to it, and a bunch of people responded back to it, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to be patient because I'm going on week number 3, and I see a lot of other people are also in the same boat. So, I mean, there's no point for me trying to wait on hold. Luckily, I was in the system and I was able to figure out my PIN, so I was fortunate on that. I know a lot of people that weren't able to get PIN set up and are just kind of sitting there going, or they waited to find out. I mean, if I wait this long and they say I'm denied, then I waited this long and I say I'm denied. But I echo your sentiments and your frustration, Sarah. It's like, it's just the unknown of what's going on right now.
Yeah, because in theory, I mean, if you got it, I guess it's not such a bad deal. You get unemployment plus $600, right, a week or something like that right now. I mean, that sounds pretty great.
Eventually, not yet.
Yeah, so what a freaking mess.
The $600 has not gone into effect yet.
Oh, it hasn't?
Nothing has. No, it has not.
My payout. No, it has not. My payout, if I was actually getting paid, is about 40% of my salary.
Holy shit! I thought it was like 75% or something. It's like 40%.
It's 50%. Well, it depends because it's 50% unless you're over the threshold, and once you hit that peak, then it doesn't matter how many dependents you have. It doesn't matter what your income is. I believe it's like 4 something is the limit.
Well, I'll say out of all the people I've seen on social media, I've not seen anybody say, "Hey, I got my, I'm getting my unemployment." I mean, maybe they're just not bragging about it because they don't want people to come to their houses. I know a few people have.
I know people who've gotten it. No one I know of has gotten the $600 bonus on top of it that comes with it, or stimulus or whatever we're calling it.
No, because they left it up to the states. They left it up to the states to figure out how to disperse it, and obviously they're a little bit busy, so it hasn't.
They are a little busy, and it was a little late, in letting them know.
I did read it was online because I've been doing research. I'm sure we all have, like, every day, a Lima-based news station saying that it was supposed to come out next week, but the problem is I don't believe anything that I read online anymore. So it's like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it, and when all of a sudden we all have money in our accounts.
I mean, I want you to get to your next point too, Sarah, but you guys have got your Trump money, right? That sweet Trump money.
Yes, I got my Trump money. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I feel so special.
No, I did get that. Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean, I understand
for
the
giving
purpose
my money
of it, but
back
at
to
the same
me.
time, when I can't even get my unemployment. So as far as like it being a stimulus bill, like I don't feel comfortable spending that money on anything.
Oh,
it's just going to be stuck in the bills, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting on mine right now, and I'm like, okay, until it comes into my account. I didn't believe that was showing up till it did, and then after you see what's going on with, like, the small businesses that are all running out of that money, who's to say we got through the letter B, and all of a sudden, okay, or so many numbers, and we ran out of this money. You know, I mean, again, it's one of those. Going back to our old show, you know, when it comes down to the government, you gotta I'll believe it when I see it.
And you know, I try to be a pretentious asshole these days and not be too political, just because I'm above all that, right? But yeah, the thing that was just crazy is that the checks that were going to be mailed out, I'm sure you guys have heard this, were delayed because we needed to have the president's name on it. Like this is
I don't
real.
know. I kind of want one of
those.
This
is Trump bucks.
I want some Trump bucks, but then again, I got the money in my account, so I don't really care. It spends quicker.
Me too. But so yeah, it's kind of a shit show. So what's your next point there, Sarah? What do you got?
King of the segue, you are.
I haven't been able to disagree with anything yet. Damn it!
I know you. I haven't gotten feisty yet. So, what do I want to talk about?
Whatever you want to talk about. It's your show.
What I want to do. I know. So I guess one thing that I do want to talk about is media consumption, because I think that people are we're existing in like an echo chamber, and all anybody hears is stay at home, save lives, stay at home, save lives. Okay, that's fine, but there's another side to that. And the issue that I have is I see a lot of people posting, making jokes about how stupid the protesters are, and how ignorant they are and uneducated they are. And I'm sitting here saying, hey, I'm actually a lifelong Democrat. I have not voted for Trump. I do not plan on voting for Trump. But I disagree with the way that things have been handled. And I don't see those people as necessarily crazy, but you get a few pictures of people looking stupid, then you're going to be like, oh, these idiots.
Well, they did look dumb in the pictures, but you know, you're going to...
The Walking Dead game was my favorite.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I like them pressed up against the glass.
Yeah.
But you're going to have that with either side. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay.
I feel like nobody's allowed to disagree. No, you're okay. I feel like nobody's allowed to disagree.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now we're getting into some meat, because this is this is interesting that you're saying this, because you know, well, okay, let's break it down to this. Why do you think that it is a justified thing to, well, look, protest, First Amendment, I get it. They should be able to do it. No disagreement there. But as far as their message goes, I mean, what is your argument for just opening things back up right now versus, you know, perceived, real, fake, whatever consequences?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually looking at a bunch of statistics and facts about things. I think obviously, and you've talked about this before, the biggest issue is the lack of testing.
Sure.
If you don't know who's sick, how can you avoid the spread?
No, and you can't trace. Yeah,
very
absolutely.
Fair. You can't trace it. But here's my thing. So currently, what was I looking at? Boop, boop, boop. So currently, as far as the United States is concerned, we have had almost 700,000 cases
that were tested,
with a mortality rate of that were tested with a mortality rate of 5.3%, which is high. That's high. So we have only tested 1% of our population. There are other countries that have tested more of their population, and their mortality rate versus number of cases is lower. So, for example, Germany has tested 2.1% of their population. The mortality rate is 3.1. Iceland, which obviously we're not like Iceland, they've tested 11% of their population. The mortality rate is 0.5. So I'm saying the more tests that are done, the more it is demonstrated that it is not as fatal as we think.
Well, yeah. I mean, the more people you test, Well, it absolutely makes sense because the more people you test, the lower the mortality rate is because, you know, what going off of what was said initially, I think about 80% of people or something, maybe lower than that. Let's say let's even throw it 60% of people are completely asymptomatic. You know, you get a cold, you get a little bit of a sore, raspy voice like I have right now, whatever, you know. So, yeah, I mean, so the highest percentage that's been tested is what percentage? Like in Iceland?
Iceland, it was 0.5% mortality versus the number of cases that they had, not the number of tests that they did. I looked at the number of tests that they had, basically per capita, and then I looked at the mortality rate.
Well,
versus number of confirmed cases.
And I mean, you can't extrapolate that directly from country to country because, like, in the comments, my friend Dirk just said, I mean, some populations are healthier than others. It's just a fact, right?
Yeah.
But what you can say is the more people that are tested, you know, the more people you're going to discover have it, the lower that mortality rate's going to go. Because right now, just by our own admission in Ohio, we're only testing the most sick and the most vulnerable. And I mean, I thought that was a problem that was going to be something that was happening in the beginning, right? Which made sense. Like, okay, we didn't have tests, but here we are, like, what, 4 or 5 weeks in, and we still have shit for testing. And I think from my point of view, it's hard for me to advocate for opening things back up when we don't have adequate testing because of the the contagion factor of this disease. And you know, I wouldn't want to spread it to anybody who's vulnerable. I'm
with you on that.
That's what I'm having trouble with.
My concern isn't me because based on all the symptoms, I may have already had this, and a lot of us may have already had it. Like, I had a severe, like, respiratory sore throat issue probably right around mid-February. That was just like, it was bad.
Yeah, and they said it started spreading in January, I think. And
I'm like, so I don't know, but then again, you know, going with Sarah's point too, it's like, was that just regular seasonal allergies, and we're all just kind of caught up in what's happening here? So it's like, my concern, it's like I err on the side of caution only because my mom, my girlfriend, they all have, you know, they have an autoimmune deficiency. I don't want to, like, endanger them in any way, but also at the same time, like, I'm the one who goes out and gets stuff, and I go walk up here. I've been to Zub's a couple times to get some wings. You know, it's like, I'll go do this. So it's like, I don't know. I'm like, I guess I'm kind of at where we'll find out when they open everything up. Even if they start doing it in stages, we're going to know one way or another what's happening here.
Well, and as a sidebar too, I mean, the mortality rate is a tricky thing too, because, you know, in some states, I think when we had our biggest spike of all time, they added people who died who had symptoms of this who weren't necessarily tested. So that means that, you know, they may not have had it. You know, seasonal flu, things like that go around. Fairly similar symptoms, very different disease. I'm not saying this is made up, or I'm not saying this is.
I'm not saying it's made up. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what you know what I mean? It's like, you don't know what is the COVID and what is seasonal allergies.
So my issue the whole time has just been that this is a low information situation, and it's hard to make an informed, smart decision when you have low information. So are you saying, Sarah, that it's just worth just taking that gamble? Oh shit, we lost her.
What'd you do, Nick?
I pissed her off. Okay, I guess
pissed her off. She went to raise. Good job.
Just stand out in front. She'll be back. She'll be back. There she is. Let's hand her back.
I'm not gonna lie, I may have done
there
that.
She is.
Welcome back.
You know what? I said, screw these dudes.
Screw these guys. Well, Alex Jones told us.
I'm gonna throw on a Guy Fawkes. I'm gonna throw on a Guy Fawkes mask and go protest at the Capitol because I'm so stupid.
I'd love to see that. You can borrow my AR-15 if you want. Just bring it back without any scraps on it.
Open carry. Let's do it.
And a musket. Yeah, sure.
Musket.
A trebuchet, whatever, you know, just like.
I don't have a musket. I have a gun. It's not a musket.
A small cannon, a small personal cannon.
I would love to own a small personal cannon. I would put it right outside my window.
I would show you guys my small personal cannon, but this is going out to the public, so I'm not going to do that.
It's not that impressive.
So yeah, what I was asking, Sarah, is I mean, we're in a low information situation. At what point do you just roll the dice and just go for it? I've heard of a second wave now in Japan. They kind of lighten restrictions. They were on them for very much shorter period of time than us, but they lowered restrictions in a certain prefecture. I don't remember what it's called. And I don't speak Japanese, but things are just ramping right back up again. So at what point do you do that? Because look, and before you even answer that, and I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. I said you could run the show, and I'm doing it now. I totally get, and I've said this on shows before, that you can't separate human well-being from the economy, and especially from this quarantine thing, because you're going to have repercussions from this quarantine and from a lack of money, just from a psychological point of view, from a substance abuse point of view, from a spousal abuse point of view, from all of these things. They're going to have a big toll, and I don't discount that. Yeah, me too. Cheers.
Yeah,
but,
cheers, Travis.
Hey, let's do that right now. So,
salute.
I know some folks have gotten flack in the media for saying, the remedy is worse than the virus itself. I get where they're coming from. Maybe it was inartfully said, but I mean, there are real problems with 24 million people unemployed. I mean, that's a big fucking problem. And that can be a huge economic and health issue. So
they wiped out the entire service industry, which for a lot of people is the only way they can make a living.
Look, dude, after all manufacturing closed, they were like, well, we have a service industry now. And now that's fucked. So it's like,
right? Yeah. It's like,
With that in mind, Sarah, when do you make that decision to reopen things? Because that's a huge gamble. We're in a low information situation, but high stakes either way.
I think we're starting to know enough to decide whether the economy is important enough to open up. I think we're starting to get to that point. For me, like, as far as personal liberties go, I'm a huge liberal. I don't care about personal liberties, but
I'm a huge liberal, and it's in the fucking name, liberal.
It's literally in the name.
Anyway, go ahead.
I'm practically a socialist. My point. Oh God.
I'm kidding.
My point is that this is not sustainable. We can.
No, it's not.
We can keep doing this. And I hear people, let's keep staying inside. I want to stay inside. I don't want to get my friends and family sick. Okay, that's fine. But unless you're planning on staying inside for the next year and a half, how are you going to do that? Until there's a vaccine, how are you going to do that?
Well, you can't. And so how do you see us getting out of this? I mean, is it more testing, people using PPE, just kind of trying to be smart about it, or maybe isolating the most at-risk population versus isolating everybody else? I mean, I don't know.
Send them out of Florida. That's where they go anyways.
Yeah, kick everybody else out of Florida.
The beaches are open now.
Yeah, I saw everybody just flooded right out.
I think that we should quarantine the at-risk.
I mean, and there's something to be said about that. I mean, maybe that makes more sense. But, you look at the situation in nursing homes, for instance, and, there was a certain degree of isolation implemented pretty early on, and yet that still spreads like wildfire through those institutions even afterwards. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know how this happens. Who even knows? Like, there's still debate.
Healthcare workers.
Well, yeah, so they're going home and they're coming back. Maybe they need to live there too.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to get real Stalin
Do you
about
really
this
think
shit.
that anybody is going to be like, yes? I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the
military camp around the hospital, and that's where everyone's going to go now.
FEMA camps, buddy. I'm all for them now.
Oh my! How the worm has turned.
Oh God. It's either take steps like that or continue living like this.
It's a hard choice, and I'm not. We can make light of it because I love dark humor, and I think it's what gets us through things like this. But I mean, it's a hard choice, and I look. I'm glad I'm not in charge. And I said this the other day too on a show. I can't shit on our state government for doing what they did thus far, because if I was in their shoes, I don't know that I would have done anything differently. I mean, they were given a horrible situation and they're doing what they think is prudent. Now they're faced with this after that initial situation. Well, like you said, Sarah, we're getting a little bit more information, probably not a good picture, but we're getting a little more. I mean, they face that very difficult situation right now too. And unless they do something really crazy and stupid, I can't even in hindsight hate on them. And you'll have to mark this day down, April 17th, when I said I can't hate on the government for something they did that was a huge restriction of liberties, because I really can't. Yeah, right. This has changed me, guys. It's changed me.
Oh, you grew up.
Jake, sing a little ditty. I'll be back in 1 minute. I have to go.
No.
I have to go
anyway,
check on.
I don't know what
don't
singing
sing a
the
ditty. I'll be
ditty
right
is,
back.
but that's fine. Anyway, Sarah, you were saying it's good to see you, by the way.
It's good to see you too.
Yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from, because there's an entire industry that there's an entire country that needs to go back to work, and we're in a split. Okay, so where, as Nick was saying, where would you put that line at as to okay, so we quarantine hospitals? So does that mean Akron U is now part of SUMA and all of downtown Akron is the quarantine zone?
I mean, what we've seen so far is, except with the exception of hotspots like New York City, Detroit, what we've seen is that having set up, these extra triage areas for COVID-19 patients and everything, they're not being used. In Akron, they're not being used.
Where is the setup treatment? Is that up by Children's?
I think so. They have tents. They have tents set up.
Okay, because we drove by the other day and we saw there was a tent over there set up,
that's what it's for.
I think because they owned everything. So
can you give me a mic? But honestly, I haven't seen that kind of surge. Yes, again, well, Nico, you were gone, but
yeah,
we were talking about hot spots, New York City, Detroit,
sure.
where we are, where they do have, the capacity issue at the hospitals. We've not seen that. My point, with a lot of it, is that we are all going to get sick, whether we are asymptomatic, whether we have mild, moderate, severe symptoms. It's going to happen. We've never had it before. And if we are not even, if the hospitals are sitting empty in these areas, then we need to get more people out and about.
Yeah, I mean, and there's an argument with what you just said, just as far as developing herd immunity. And they've canceled all of the elective procedures.
Yeah,
and elective is it's a very broad category as well. I mean, what people don't realize is it's a pandemic, right? So hospitals are going to be doing just fine, but they're kind of fucked too. And there are a lot of hospital systems that are probably not going to come out of this too well.
Right.
But I wonder how far away we are from being able to test for antibodies, in blood, because I think that would be a huge thing too. So we need to test for people who currently have it. And then more importantly, especially if it started back in frickin' January, like they're saying,
who beat it?
We need to talk about who is already immune to it. And also, I've read those stories about people who've gotten it twice and things like that, but
I don't believe them.
I don't either. I have a feeling that 99% of those cases, and maybe there's an anomaly or two, it's just somebody who wasn't completely better and,
or a false positive.
Right. So then they tested positive again. I mean, that's not how the human body works. Generally, once you build up those antibodies to fight a virus, you're good to go. Unless it's mutated, and they're mutating all the time. So
it's airborne.
I mean, that's what people have argued about mutation, which is fine. But as far as the time frame for mutation goes, like we're not. It takes a lot longer for that to happen.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, it depends on the origin story that you buy into, I guess.
Well, viruses.
We just watched Outbreak the other day, and that's a great movie. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Oh, great!
Really good
what's a great show? Containment. Containment is
another
one.
I want to watch Contagion. I haven't seen that yet.
But as far as viruses mutating, though, real quick, since that subject came up, I mean, the way that there are several different ways that viruses can mutate, and one of the ways is that they can kind of recombine with other viruses, because just the way a virus works, when it kind of injects its RNA or DNA into a cell, all these little pieces and bits are floating around. They can recombine. So viruses can actually mutate very rapidly. And one of the things that might be an unintended consequence of flattening the curve. And again, either way, people are going to die. I mean, it's just going to happen. I'm not trying to be callous, but by flattening that curve and prolonging the infection, you're actually also, you're increasing the chances of mutation.
You're giving it more time.
Sure. So, I mean, it's a hard situation. Again, I think we'll be able to look back and learn a lot from this, but I mean, it's so many hard choices. I wouldn't want to. This is like a freaking ethics class, like really with the trolley. The trolley and the people tied to the track or the other. Who die. It's a huge mess. It's like ethics come to life. I'm glad I don't have to do that for a living.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt. I thought more of the Gwen Stacy v the busload of children. Which one are you going to save?
Here's
Nice. Is it a no effect shirt?
Yeah, it says never trust a hippie.
That's my favorite Jesus.
I live in Highland Square. I understand.
So Dave Higgins says in the comments, this particular coronavirus does not mutate very easily. I have no idea what he means by that. Dave, post another comment if you want to come on
Higgins, just jump on the show.
Explain that to us.
Right, we need more people to talk to.
Dude, I'll just send you a link right now. Let's do that.
Get Higgins on the show. I haven't talked to Mr. Higgins. Actually, last time I saw Dave Higgins was at a concert at Blossom, and I don't remember which one because I went to like 7 last year, of which I'll be going to none this year. But hey,
Higgins is he's like the benevolent Unabomber. He's just this mathematical savant who doesn't want to blow people up.
The best part is I saw him down.
I'm just kidding, Dave.
I was at the bottom of the hill at Blossom, and I saw him standing near the top, and it was just like, that's Dave Higgins. I'm gonna wander up there, and I actually exercised to go get him because it's a hell of a hike.
Well, I just sent him an invite, so we'll see if he takes that up or not. But
Nick, you said you only had 10 viewers, and you just had 18.
Yeah,
move it up. Your ratings get.
That is exactly. That is the Sarah effect. Well, look, when it's not just a bunch of ugly dudes sitting around, it helps, right?
I would promote this show, except for I don't know when it's happening, except for like 45 minutes prior.
Like the day of. Yeah.
We're doing a show tonight.
It's like vapors, it's just they appear. It's like ball lightning. It's a very rare and unpredictable natural phenomenon. It's
because Nick's bored and he's in his basement and he wants to hide away from everybody.
Look, dude, I come in from the garage into the basement to do this. I'm not naturally.
We got some chats going on here. Hey, Higgins, I see you down there in the chat. Your Mrs. Von Akron says they have them at Suma too.
What?
the testing sites.
The testing sites, yeah.
Well, I'd hope so. Suma's a Leviathan. We can
The testing sites are the extra or the overflow.
She says that Ellie may have had it, so you had it too. That's cool.
I think so. So Sarah, what else is on your list? Damn it! What do you got here?
I don't know. I've been jumping around.
What else made the list?
You know. So
what made the list? Top 10 coronavirus subjects tonight on the Von Akron Show.
In Butte, Montana, the top 10 things on the coronavirus list.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about the economic impacts, not for small businesses, just in general.
Sure.
This is basically contributing, which Trump already had this kind of, in motion, but a reversal of globalization, and possibly a rise in nationalism as we've closed borders, and countries that weren't producing a good are now forced to learn how to do that. So now we are able to be self-sustaining, but we don't interact with anyone. It's basically because it's disrupted the global supply chain.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. I hope that doesn't last. Because globalization, oh gosh, this is another thing that's going to get me tons of shit with people, but it's basically the best thing that's ever happened to humans. And there goes Jake. It's just you and I now, Sarah. But
what happened to this Higgins person?
I don't know. He's too chicken. He's not going to come on. Bark, 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 bark. Come on, Higgins.
I put on makeup for this.
Yeah, there's Jake. He's back. Let me bring that son of a bitch in.
Sorry, phone froze.
No problem. Yeah, so globalization. And the problem with this sort of economic isolationism is that a lot of the smaller countries, right, they don't have these resources. I mean, they can't do it. And what we're finding now, even with a large, powerful country like the United States, is we just we can't do some of these things. I mean, we could, don't get me wrong, we could, but it would take forever. And
education, yeah.
Well, not even education. It's just like even for simple manufacturing, we don't have the facilities for it. And it's very difficult to make that work. Also, just natural resources too. So we can have another show about globalization. Maybe when all this blows over and we have cooler heads, and you're back to your position, and I'm back to mine. But actually, Dave, I think, is Mr. Higgins.
Hi. There he is.
He's not a chicken after all.
Oh shit, it's Mr. Higgins. Hey, what concert were we at?
It was the
Trashmen. Word is the word.
No. It was
okay.
What's his name? Page's son. Wasn't Page's son doing the Led Zeppelin?
Okay, so
Led Zeppelin cover band ever.
Yeah, it was the Led Zeppelin, but who was the headliner that night?
Oh, hell, I can't remember.
Cool, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, Dave, down to brass tacks here. Why is the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus, not as likely to mutate, or why doesn't it mutate with such speed?
From what I've read, it doesn't need to mutate because it does its job just fine. It doesn't. It seems to transmit from person to person with ease, so there's no need for it to mutate. Is the idea?
But
there's no evolutionary advantage for it to mutate because it's already adapted to being able to spread easily. So the whole point of a mutation to a virus, anyways, as far as from what I know, is to maximize its effect and maximize, total entropy.
Well, 99% of mutations are useless and they're ineffective and it just dies, right?
Yeah.
So, but you got that 1%. And I don't know that that's based off of how effective the original virus is. I mean, mutation happens. It's going to happen.
No, I mean, this is a particular study that they found that it actually there's something like 3 or 4 different variations. I can't remember the article that I read, but it was pretty good. It was a pretty good article.
Well, and again, I'm
but
a non-virologist, just sitting here talking out of my ass.
There seems to be from what I read, there's a strain that's like a West Coast strain, and then there's an East Coast strain kind of situation.
What is this,
Right,
the rap battle of the 90s?
Right, yeah. So there's and the East Coast one seems to come from the strain that mutated originally in Eastern Europe or something, and then the West Coast strain is the China strain, basically. So there's two major ones, basically, that are causing hell. But most likely, we all had it already, I think, and so the whole idea of this the needing the antibodies or getting an antibody test, I think, is paramount to get things back and going. Just because,
yeah, for prudence, I think that's probably the most important piece of the puzzle we're missing.
I mean, I pretty much agree with what Sarah was saying in that we should get people out there. If we got open hospital beds, if we were going to be completely efficient about this, she's not wrong. But the thing is you shouldn't be telling people to go out. I mean, it's going to happen naturally anyways. Just let the herd mentality just take over. But the thing is, if you kind of relax the protocols, then you can fill up some hospital beds. But people are still going to die. It's going to happen. But
You're
at the same
quiet,
time,
Kara.
But
hello.
I think it makes more sense to. I wish there was an at-home antibody test or something that people could take, and then
It may have just ruined the show because Nick now has to mess with.
Yeah, you're not close enough, and you're not talking into it.
Kara, get out of here! No, I'm just kidding.
I can't hear you,
Sarah. I know. I'm trying. It's crackling and it's weird, and I don't know what's happening. And now Nick's irritated.
I hear you now,
guys. Kids are behaving, so. If you can hear me, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Oh, it's much better.
Much better.
Way better.
Much better.
So they just opened Jacksonville, Florida beaches, and within 30 minutes, it was just all clusters of people just showing up to the beach. There is no social distancing. They're just I'm at a beach. We're all hanging out together again. So it worries me having everyone just kind of slowly work into reopening that no one's going to give a fuck. That's kind of my thought on it. They're just going to go full force doing whatever they were doing before.
That was kind of a thought I had with if people were.
Is that a cat?
Is everybody there?
Dave?
no, it's
Is it Edmund?
What's happening?
A cat or is that Edmund?
Oh,
There's Edmund. Hi, Eddie. And a cat.
And a cat. See, I knew I heard a cat.
So anyways, yeah, that's just
What happened to Digman? Digman's gone.
I'm kind of busy right now. Are you talking about you?
So basically, it's me and you right now, Sarah and Dave. So Dave, get your ass back
Dave's
down in the chair.
Yeah.
What?
So my biggest concern, even in Ohio, is people are just gonna see things slowly being rolling them out as this is okay, and it's not gonna work the way they want to. Because I appreciate that grocery stores
Sarah,
are
you
social
need to move
distancing.
over. You need to move over.
Oh, Nick's camera's over there. My microphone's over here.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I know you're talking, but I can't see you. There she is.
He laughed, and then when there's a squeak, I break something.
Oh, I think you just jacked it up. Was that?
I stood up.
Yeah, you did.
No, there's something.
No,
there's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's something wonky here.
I messed it all up. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I took over Nick's microphone.
There we go. Perfect.
I did
he can
not
fix the
get
other one.
prepared for anything today. I video conferenced my work the same way I look right now, and I'm just like, "Hi guys, yeah." So, how was your day? So I work for office furnishings. We do high end.
Are you eating ice cream, chocolate ice cream? Sorry, I
No, I can't eat the. Unfortunately, I shouldn't be eating the ice cream if I want to, get the worst. But slim down. But
you're gonna keep that bod.
I'm gonna slim down my girl. Yeah. No, the ice cream is for the important people in the house.
The cat.
No, the cat's outside now. No, the little one and the
check 1 2. There we go.
God.
And the big one.
And so I was trying to say, it's like for my company, I sell commercial office furnishings, and all of a sudden we have switched gears, and all of the manufacturers that we have are selling sneeze guards.
Yeah,
so
you were talking about that for the bank.
Yeah, for the banks. They're just literally like just putting them up there for banks. And it's weird how many requests we've gotten for that. And the price range is huge. And it's amazing. Like the feedback is not good because they don't want to pay that much money for them. No. Especially since one bank is local and they want 3 for each of their 7 branches. And it's like, one quote was like 10 grand. The other one's 5 grand. So they're just trying to figure out how do we financially deal with that. And they're hoping to have them up and running for
Jake. Stop doing that.
Whatever.
Okay. Yeah, Jake. He's just in. He's in and he's out.
Dave. It's Dave from M&M's.
No, this is Jake because he keeps dropping off. And this is inside baseball stuff too.
Are you guys on the chat? Let's keep doing this.
So, you know what? Look, guys who are listening right now, we have 2 additional slots open. I can't read the comments, but Kara can because she's sitting in front of my computer.
We can switch.
I can read the comments. What do you want here?
Kara is hot.
There really has not been anything.
Hey, Aubrey, call the show.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so...
Aubrey, you said, I look lovely. Thank you.
All right, so anybody who else wants to join... Jake is following the chat, and he will send you the link, the very same link I sent you.
No, I've already taken myself out of the show twice, Nick.
No, you are going to send the link to that person, and we will bring them on. Okay? It's going to be a free-for-all Freaky Friday show.
I don't know how to chat on this thing.
It's Friday?
It is.
It is? I know.
I
just had to remind myself. I had to remind myself to pay my house cleaner like 2 hours ago. I was like, oh, crap, it's Friday. She's not cleaning my house, but I'm still paying her because that's what she lives on.
You're a good person.
That's some bourgeois shit, isn't it?
That's very bougie.
But I have a job and Nick has a job where we're both being paid, and she wouldn't be paid if this whole thing wasn't happening. And she has a daughter with special needs as well. And I just want to make sure that they're all right. That's really all it is.
Yeah. So, Sarah, are there any other points that you've missed on your prep sheet there? Because it was pretty extensive.
Yeah. Really, the only thing else that I wanted to say was so a lot of the talk has been about the Spanish flu in 1918 and the impact of social distancing, or when they weren't social distancing. And I was reading an interesting article that was talking about what we kind of have ignored about what followed that, which was eventually the Great Depression and World War II. But more importantly, we ignore that there was a global financial collapse after that, the rise of fascism, and the emergence of a new economic superpower, which thankfully at that time was us. But this time it's not going to be.
Yeah. I mean, that was a different world at that point.
So who's it going to be?
Well, my brother always has. My brother's pretty crazy about all of his statistics as far as this whole thing has gone. And he's also gone AWOL as far as saying everyone's lying from China of their numbers because they're trying to cover something up, which is still status quo, my brother.
That's plausible.
Because apparently it came from a lab.
They probably are.
I had actually heard, I read some things somebody posted, and they're like, China had 21 million people die from coronavirus. I was like, nah.
Well, that's a
no.
little extreme.
My point was they had science labs open. They were studying the coronavirus and they were ill-staffed, and that was it was on CNN or something too.
Fake news.
Fake news. It's all fake news. But so my brother's assuming they're covering up numbers basically worldwide. However, on the other hand,
so what deeper into that though, the reason where they got that 21 million number that I read was that China is now requiring everybody who has a cell phone to download their
their tracking app or whatever,
basically that'll list you as right. And so I think what happened was 21 million people. They're basically saying that 21 million people died because all those phone plans got canceled. What about just the people canceling the phone plans because they don't want to download the stupid government app?
They recently released there was a map that they had used based on Google Maps where everyone's able to use their location finding, and Ohio basically didn't move at all. So and then they had the different colors throughout the states of who was moving and who was doing their due diligence of being
yes. And give me 1 second here. So Aubrey's going to join us in just about 1 second, but I wanted to give 1 point before I bring her in about hegemony. And I brought this up on the previous show, the last show I did about COVID-19. And that is that, as much as an anti-imperialist as I am, who did we just lose? Jake.
Again. The options right now for any sort of other hegemonic superpower are kind of shitty. I mean, if you've got Russia or China, I think things will be exponentially worse, even if we've done some bad things. Anyway, you know what? Let's bring in Aubrey because we haven't talked to Aubrey in forever.
Wait for the girl screams. I'm sorry, Aubrey! Oh my God! Yay! Are you there?
Hi guys, I don't know if my internet can handle this. I can't hear y'all very well.
We can hear you.
I can hear
Aubrey,
you.
we talked about you at the very beginning of this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we did.
So I guess you can hear me. Hi everybody. You guys,
Hi.
I'm just using my mobile phone, so you guys keep kind of breaking.
Oh, there she goes.
And she's gone.
We lost her.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I'm using my mobile
She had a good
phone.
run.
Here and gone.
There's no excuse.
Yeah. We got to say hello. So,
Yeah, let's bring her.
That's really all you can ask for this day and age.
Aubrey.
You're back.
Aubrey, can you hear us?
I probably
Aubrey,
can't stand.
Aubrey.
I keep bumping off, but I really miss you
So
all, and I
does
wanted
Jake.
to join in on the conversation.
So you're out in New Mexico, right? Aubrey?
There's a delay.
No, there's a delay.
What's that?
No, you're in New Mexico right now. Is that correct, Aubrey?
That's why there's a delay, because she's all the way in New Mexico.
So far away.
Yeah, I'm in Albuquerque. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can. So if you can hear us, what did you?
I can hear you, but you're all blurry.
Yeah. Well, there's too many of us talking at once, too, I think is part of the problem. Aubrey, before you leave, because you're inevitably going to cut out again, just give us a few bars of Girl from Ipanema, and I would be, super happy.
Or my girlfriend brings all the milk.
Give you
my milkshake. My milkshake.
You want to give you a few words on what?
What?
I said a few bars from Girl from Ipanema.
I can't hear you.
You're beautiful
sorry.
singing.
Oh, God.
Girl from Ipanema. Okay.
He wants you to sing a song. Sing a song.
My milkshake.
Oh, you want me to
brings
sing a
Not you.
song? I thought you wanted to talk about the coronavirus.
Nah,
I don't
we'd
want to
rather
talk
hear you
about
sing.
that.
Song. We've moved on.
It's been a while,
I really miss
Aubrey.
you all. I really miss you all so
We
much.
We went from
Joe's here
20
too, but he
viewers
doesn't want to be on
to
camera. So, la 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 la.
Nice.
Oh yes,
Bravo!
very beautiful.
Bravo.
Yes, it's quite my finest performance.
So, Aubrey, can you hear
I can actually
us?
hear you for a second. I'm sorry, I can hear you now. My internet,
Don't
I'm
talk.
just using my mobile phone. I don't have a router or anything. It's just my mobile hotspot, so
Okay.
that's why it goes out.
That'd be
So-
your
Her
problem right
hotspot's
there.
I can
not
hear you
so
now.
hot.
How are things
Hi,
in
Sarah.
How are things in New Mexico? How are things in Albuquerque as far as the whole quarantine, the lockdown go?
Actually, pretty good. We were a little bit behind you all in Ohio. A few weeks in terms of the lockdown, the quarantine. I mean, we have stay-at-home orders and everything, but we were a few weeks behind you. I was following my family and all of you on Facebook, but my family all got laid off from their jobs in the service industry and everything, and the quarantine about 3 weeks before we did here. So everyone here was not taking it seriously at all, and I was like, my family all just got laid off, like all of my siblings. I was really mad. I was feeling like this, because they're like, what are you even talking about? I'm like, it's going to concern you one way or another, whether or not you care about the virus. But yeah, our numbers are really good. What is our current number at for infections? I think
we're like 1,500.
Yeah, we're like
somewhere under 2,000.
we're under
Hi, Beaner.
2,000 for infections, and
Well, for
like I think
testing,
300 people have died. So testing's actually good. We've done like 34,000 tests. So
oh,
our population here is about 2 million. So it's really different coming from Ohio,
Yeah.
having such a big population. It's far out here being from a smaller population. Everyone thinks they're from a big population here, but they don't get it. We're like,
So
no,
are-
this is sparse, dude.
Yeah. So are you and Jeff
it's
both
sparse.
having to stay home right now then?
Yeah, well, we both got laid off. And yes, also our governor's pretty cool. She's a chick. She's a Democratic governor. She's
What's her
pretty
name?
fierce. She's her name's Michelle Lujan Grisham. Yeah, Michelle Lujan Grisham. She knows what she's doing. She's very intelligent, and it's nice to hear her speak to the public because she actually seems to care, and she's very well spoken. She also talks to experts and things like that. So we've been pretty pleased with her response overall. She actually just said today that she has no intention of reopening anytime soon unless the numbers scientifically show that that's a wise idea. She just made an announcement today based upon the federal response.
Yeah, and that's the difficult thing we're facing right now. And you'll be shocked to hear, Aubrey, that me, as being a staunch libertarian my entire life, have been quite pleased with our governor, Mike DeWine and Amy Acton. I think they've done a fairly good job given what they have to deal with.
yeah, they're like a mom and pop of Ohio right now. So every time I watch Wine with DeWine at 2:00 every day, he has something uplifting to say before they give us earth-shattering news.
And he's got that delightful whistle in his talk.
So I start my day every day.
No, I was wondering, actually, I was curious, Nico and Kara, on your opinions, because I wondered what your take on it would be. But yeah, I guess, you can, I get it. I get where you're coming from. Because I also feel, I was actually glad that the governor she was kind of maternal, I guess that's how you feel when you feel kind of overwhelmed by everything. It's nice to have some sort of leadership, even if you don't, even if you're kind of like an anarchist. So,
well,
yes,
I
understand how you feel.
Growing up listening to Garrison Keillor, I was just very soothed by the whistle in Mike DeWine's speech. I really enjoy those.
So everything
dude,
going
totally
to be
grew up with
fine, my
Garrison
friend.
Keillor.
Yes. So good. I'm glad to hear things are going well for you out there. I mean, relatively
we're just
speaking.
lucky. We're grateful to be in a place. It's not spreading. It's just the sparser population. It's just not bad here. And we started staying at home way before it got out of hand. So it's just not blooming here as much, but it's because of she shut down everything pretty much really fast. So I think that had a lot to do with it.
And
so
a question.
Even though,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay, so a question I have for you, because you guys lived a fairly mobile life for a while. You had a van down by the river in New Orleans.
Absolutely, it was literally by the river.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying it. So what do you think is a better place to be? Your situation right now, or kind of that a little bit more mobile lifestyle.
We've talked about that extensively together. Definitely here, because we were totally when you're living on the road, you're totally exposed, and in every way possible. So there's all the freedom in a way. See, the thing is, maybe back in the 60s and 70s there was more freedom, but we found that doing this in the 2000s, there was a lot less freedom. We had a lot of incidents with the cops harassing us, interrogating us, the city trying to ticket us. We parked in the wrong spot, and we looked conspicuously like we might be living in the vehicle or traveling. So, but in terms of the coronavirus in this, we would be terrified right now to be mobile, because there's definitely safety in a structure right now. We have health insurance here. We have government support. And we feel a lot safer being in an apartment that's, just in a not very, it's a sparsely populated city compared to most states, because it's still kind of like out west, and there's just not as many people out here.
And before we lose,
we've been talking about it. We're kind of lucky to be here right now, I guess.
No, that's good. And before we lose the connection too,
we both lost our jobs, but we're not. Everything's not peachy keen. Like, we both lost our jobs, so I've been freaking out personally. I've been in a very depressed, upset mood because I tried to file for unemployment. It took. Oh yeah, Jake Digman. I talked to you about unemployment. I just heard back, and right now they're only giving me $90 a week. But it's supposed to, I'm supposed to get the extra money, but literally 4 weeks to get anything. So I was freaking out. I was like, I'm not gonna make it. What am I gonna do? We don't have family here, but I'm at least getting a little bit now.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier before you came on. Sarah and I were talking about that. You comment on the same post. It's like we're all kind of up in the air, but I'm glad something came through, and hopefully, all the other things that are supposed to come. Did you get your Trump money?
Please don't call it.
Yeah,
that.
well, I think. Oh, the stimulus money.
Do not call it that.
I know, Sarah, right? I'm gonna seriously, I'm gonna freak out on Ben Schubert. I swear to God, he's going on about Trump money. I'm gonna kick his ass on
Did
Facebook.
You get your own money back?
I'm holding back my shit.
Aubrey, he's just saying that to get a rise out of people. He's the ultimate troll, and I give him praise for that.
All of you can just crawl through the video.
I know,
and
that's why I don't say anything,
because everyone wants to.
I know he's a troll, but in my heart, I'm like,
not Jay.
Shut the fuck up.
Not me. I'm not a troll. That's what we were calling earlier.
No, my best troll friend Ben Schubert. He gets a rise out of people.
Schubert is a troll. I'm not a troll.
He's awesome as far as I'm concerned. Just take
That's why I won't let him get a rise out of me in real time. It's just in my heart, though. I'm like, you little fucker.
This isn't real time. What are you talking about?
No, we're lagging horribly.
Oh.
You guys actually all the trading money.
What the fuck ever?
What's this?
Oh my God.
There's this thing that I keep on seeing go around about certain 43,000 millionaires are going to get $1.6 million stimulus check. Anybody else see this? I haven't actually read any of the articles.
Yeah.
Is this legit? Because that's going to get a rise out of a lot of people.
I know. I'm trying. I think they are.
I don't know. That's a bad look if it's true.
Makes so much sense.
No, it's
it's
completely
true.
legitimate. It actually, it's a provision that was written into this.
Was it 1.6? Was it 1.6 million, combined?
No, they all get 1.7.
They made it seem like it was personal, per person.
It was one of those dog leaves, so they just add an extra 27 pages to the 389-page document that was put in, that they all get extra money. Maybe.
Which might explain, why some people got $8 million deposited into their account and then taken
that was
away.
One dude, and I wish it would have been
It was one dude, and it was frozen the moment it happened. He just.
I saw 4 or 5 examples of it that have been reported, and that was
once again.
That was local news because it was on the TV. I don't know.
Well, if it's on the TV, it must be true.
I think the first time I saw it, I was like, whatever, but I didn't look at the link. And the last time that I saw it was New York Post. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the New York Post.
It's happened multiple times around the country.
Real quick. Hi, Steve. Hi, Meredith.
So.
Steve, Meredith, Colleen. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, this is a busy day for you.
Yeah,
You're
so
gonna
this
to have me on the show all the time.
So popular.
no kidding. No kidding. This is
That's
my
popular.
Look at my hair right now. I look like a troll.
Sarah's
Don't
Sarah's
take
my
it down. Don't take it down.
Sarah's my honey pot for the show. This works out really well.
You know what? I think it's Dave Higgins' beard, and he knows it's his beard.
Well, that does bring all the I don't know.
Bring all the girls to the yard.
Oh, that
More like
mustache.
is better. I'm just trying to get Aubrey to sing
I am
Milkshake.
not ever singing that song for you. So don't even go there.
Aubrey, she
It's not
wants
happening.
She wants you to sing.
I'm
It's a
not
great
anyone
time.
you're
It's
drunk
not-
with music that.
Just bring me back to better times when we weren't
Why
in
do you have to be drunk
quarantine,
to sing
Aubrey.
Milkshake?
I just want to hear about the milkshake.
God, this feels like I'm
It's
sitting
a
in the corner
moving,
in a
meaningful
coffee shop
song.
listening to everybody talk. This is so
And
awesome. This is so
I'm
awesome.
asking to have a cigarette, but we can't.
Fucking go.
And I'm sitting in the chair. Man's this show.
Yeah, the one with the most commanding microphone. So this is just
You're the one who sent all the links out.
You actually
Yeah.
brought this on yourself.
I did. Did I?
You got Sarah, you got Aubrey, you got me.
Hey, I didn't.
You said, I'm giving up the reins tonight to Sarah, and here's what happened. You literally said that when we opened the show.
Hey, look at
This
So on that
episode.
Here we are.
This episode's looking a little white though,
Nick's
Nick. You might.
a little bit of a control freak.
not at all. That's why I don't ride roller coasters, for fuck's sake. I'm a control freak. I can't do that.
I think you should invite some other folks
All
on.
right. Well, I have to hand it back over to Nick because I hear a
You
mom.
can pick me off if you want.
Oh, she's got to go now, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
All right. All right. Well, we'll try to rein this in.
Mary,
Boo, boo.
boo, hiss, boo, hiss.
Yeah, so
Love you, Aubrey. Love you, Sarah.
I
And
can't hear if y'all are breaking up or not. I can't hear.
Bye.
She
We can
don't
hear
love me. She don't love Jake.
Yeah.
She sees you all the time. So.
Oh yeah, she
All out of
sees me
love.
all the time.
excuse
Yeah,
me.
she
All out of love.
So yeah, this is descended into complete anarchy, which I guess my whole life is saying what I wanted,
No,
right?
it's fine.
Typical.
Fine.
Maybe that's
you really-
Hey, I
Both of
said
us.
everything I wanted to say. You said everything you wanted to say. We said it all.
we did. I think it's been a really fun show. I don't know what else
has.
we have to talk about. What we can do, guys.
Did you guys say something about? I had trouble hearing you for guys.
Second
Yeah.
law of
What?
thermodynamics.
Yes, everything. Yes. So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna wrap up the show. Everybody who's on right now, though, if we want to catch up, we can stay on, but we're going to end the public broadcast because I don't know how much more we have to
Yes.
contribute to the public
We
airway.
really digress. Mm-hmm.
But I think this has been fun, and I think we should do it again. Aubrey, when you get a better connection, if you do at some point, I would like to have Jeff and you on and do. Geez, you got so much
Okay.
to talk about.
Yeah, sorry, I can hear you a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could join you for a brief moment.
Yeah, so when she watches the replay of this, she'll hear my question. I want her to be on again because I'd like to learn all about living on the road because that's interesting to me. At any rate, everybody, it's been show 15. It's been a blast. I don't have any Jerry Springer sitting on the little moment right now. There is
What was it?
Wait, where'd you go?
Love each other and be well or something?
love each other, be well. This is a difficult time. There's no easy decisions, honestly. I would hate to be in the shoes of anybody making these decisions, but you know what? We're going to get through it despite ourselves because that's just like how it works with humans. So, I'm cautiously, misanthropically optimistic about the whole situation. And everybody have a good night. And you guys stick around. We're going to end the broadcast now. Cheers.